to call the meeting order after I bring the mission. The purpose of the Bismarck Human Relations Committee is to create an atmosphere of inclusion, equality, and accessibility through education and outreach to recognize the value of a diverse community. They are officially called to order. Calling for public comment. Second call for public comment. Third and final call.
Gabby.
Okay, we will move on. I will consider an approval of last month's minute.
Make a motion to approve last meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right, so we are already to upcoming events. You want to talk about MLK?
After going back and forth, they originally were gonna cancel the event. And then now, as of today, I got an email. I was CC'd on an email that they sent out to their people that are involved in it. They decided they are gonna have the event, but it's gonna be different. It's gonna be at the library. And it's gonna be a movie. I don't remember, sorry, I don't remember what it's called. It's gonna be a movie, and then they're gonna take donations if people wanna donate, but then they're going to give those donations to Ministry on the Margins, the prison outreach program, if I remember right. Whatever they call that. They said they're very thankful that we would have been willing to donate money. So they said if we want, we can have people there.
This is the Martin Luther King event.
Yes.
I'm assuming it's on the actual holiday.
I'm assuming as well.
Do we find it beneficial to have a table at these screening events?
That's what I'm wondering.
I
Are there any other events happening south that I'm okay?
It sounded like that was the only one because they thought there were other organizations, but then they couldn't find any. So I think that's why they decided to go ahead with the event still. And I think they'll go back. I think it was, they didn't have enough time to really plan it this year like they've done in the past. So I think that's why they would put this together, because they have someone on there from the library. They plan it that way, and then they have this movie that they can play. But I just got the email literally this morning.
so for clarification, our meeting will be moved to the 27th that month, correct? Since Monday is a holiday.
Okay.
I think
What
that's
date is that?
typically what we do.
Schedule work, the 27th.
Yep, I actually have a calendar made that I can print for you guys. We typically meet on the 4th instead of the 3rd, because of the holidays in January and February.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought. So with that,
I don't know myself to make sure I don't say anything incorrect. Okay. They're gonna have a movie and then they're gonna have like a moderated discussion is what it sounds like. Celebration will feature the movie February 1, The Story of the Greensboro Four. The movie tells an inspiring story of the 1960 Greensboro lunch counter sit-in that revitalized the civil rights movement. Moderator for the event will be Joseph McNeil Jr., the son of Joseph McNeil, one of the original participants. Then somebody that's on their committee suggested an emphasis on Dr. King's teachings of nonviolence, and this movie will demonstrate discipline of nonviolence by sit-in participants.
my thoughts on it, it's a good opportunity to have a booth, but my other thoughts are it's less, well, it's a little more than a month away. Like if they haven't start putting the information out yet, is it, I don't want to say worth our time, but is it worth putting the additional time commitment onto volunteers?
I guess the only two organizations that they're waiting to have any type of thing are us and Ministry on the Margins.
then I think we need to. It's a holiday for me, so I can for sure.
For me.
It is for me too.
And I would like to watch it, so.
What time is it?
Hold on. 7.
What? How long's the movie?
I don't know. I can look it up. Hold on. Their event was usually at 7 though, wasn't it?
That's probably true. We could ask what time, like, obviously if the movie starts at 7, what time are they going to have people start coming in? And then focus our booth on before the event, not so much at
Yeah, before, I would say.
staying after. And I think we could keep, like what we bring minimal, so that we're not, like all in every.
1 hour and 1 minute.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay. All right,
It's not like we're getting 3 hours.
so no funds, but we'll have a booth.
And then, so what time? 6:30, or do you think we have to set up sooner than I'll be there?
I wonder what.
I don't know, they literally just, did this, so, and their next meeting is until January 5th. So,
So,
What's the committee? Is it Trinity?
no, it's Martin Luther King, it's an outside committee, and it's, a
Oh.
lot of people have never been on it before, because I've never even heard of these people, besides Bill and Marsha.
also it's like a whole new committee after.
I think so.
Okay. I know the last 2 years it's kind of fluctuated, so, okay. So how about this?
I wanted to say earlier than 6.
No, I can guarantee I can be there by 6 PM. Once we get a little bit more information on the actual time that they'll open the doors. I'll have Whitney send out an email. That way, if you guys want to be there closer to 6:30.
I can email. About time, they're thinking of it.
Sounds good.
The library too, would probably tell us what time it's happening.
Well, it's at the library. I didn't even, I don't know why I assumed the Heritage Center, so I'm glad you said that.
And I was on that committee, I think that's why, because she works at the Lex.
Okay, anything further on that?
So how much money did we ever wanted to give to that?
$250, and that's kind of a question that I have. Because what are they giving that money to?
The prison reentry program administrator.
So could we, would it be an option to, use that money that we were planning on contributing and making a donation then? The reentry program, or, because our budgets use it or lose it essentially, right?
It doesn't carry over. You don't lose it though.
Sorry. Does our budget carry over? So,
It's back to the general fund and then into the reserves.
We have left.
you know how to read anything?
Let's see.
Okay. Let's see. So our balance is 1644.34.
That's correct.
That's how much we've spent total,
That's what we have remaining.
or what we have remaining.
That would be.
Spent, sorry. So then we have Did we have 2,000 or 2,500?
5.
Yeah. So. So we have 855. So we could still put forward that money. How did he say how they were going to do it? Like,
These are literally meeting minutes, of the meetings. Just forwarded me meeting minutes. It's not like he'd reach out to me. I just happened to CC me on it.
okay. So any thoughts on that conversation? My concern is, and we would just be giving money, like without actually participating in what we're giving them. Money.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like we're not in any way involved with that reentry program. So that would be my concern. I think we'd be setting kind of ourselves up then for that ask moving forward to simply give money and not be involved from other organizations. Thoughts? And again, we've done that before, though, if they've been our mission.
Like I would rather I'd rather give money to like Black Student Union at University of Mary. You know what I mean? Like that seems much more directly impacting,
Right.
individuals of color in our community. You know what I mean? I think
It's something that makes sense for the,
We go back and give stipends to people that were part of the community conversations.
all the way back to, for all three of them.
I wouldn't take one, but we're looking at going forward, doing some type of stipend system for them.
Yes, the problem with that is getting a list and then getting a vote on how to, like, the dollar amount and everything. We want. We'd have to do it by the end of this month.
With that, spoke at each of them. You mean giving a list of what, like their addresses or what?
No, like we'd have to do that all tonight.
So I would just do the same amount for a reasonable person.
So, but, okay, yes, and then if we vote and they just deny the money, then it just, we don't give it, right?
Just write on the check, I'm using it, mine would be, I'm denied because I'm not Kennedy.
Can we do that?
well, some people can deny it because they don't want to have income.
Right.
Or some people might say, well, I don't want to accept the honorarium. I prefer a donation to my organization that I work for. You know what I mean?
Pretty complicated.
And my concern too is like we had a city employee, are we allowed to, so there's, like, we have rules too about what you're able to do for, I guess, weird contract and stuff.
But I think we should use it for something.
Yeah,
And I'm sure there's nothing that we can order in time for it to be out in time by the end of the year.
well,
I think as long as the funding is spent this year, is that not the way it should be?
as long as the money's spent.
You have to receive.
Oh, we
You
do.
have to receive, okay. Thank you for that.
So you could, if in the future, because everybody who's, this is just my opinion, everybody who spoke this year was not expecting you to sort honorarium. It was, they were just doing it to donate their time. Moving forward, if you wanted to offer in 25, the next ones, could make that an option. Just fine. it's like a lot of work at a very short period of time at the end of the year to try to get potential monies paid for what, 12 individuals. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's my concern with it too. But I think that would be important then for next year, how we kind of talked about planning the events ahead of time that we know that we're going to be supporting. And then we could kind of choose a budget for stipends as well for all. How many are we gonna do for? Community conversations next year? So does that then, if you have to receive by the end of the year, does that, there's an ask, Bismarck Global Neighbors, they, January, they begin their 10 of 10 celebration. So it's 10 events to mark 10 years as an organization in the community. Like they'll range from potentially a soccer tournament to a potluck to, I can't even remember all the things that they listed. The ask was for, the first one is a potluck. And I said, we can't buy food, like the money can't go towards that. So then they asked for, they said it could be used for potentially marketing materials that would be used for all of the events over the course of a year. Or items like plates, cups, things to support all of the events that they'll be having. I'm pretty sure our donation for them came out of last year's budget, even though it was utilized this summer. I don't know if that's,
Good question.
Yeah.
Do you mean they just actually utilized it? You donated it last year
yes,
and they did, that doesn't affect us on our accounting side because the donation occurred in that year. So
They have to-
it's theirs.
Later
They
on,
don't have to.
so not that they need to. Have there.
so I'll open up the conversation with that. I know we've supported them in the past. I also know, both state and federal funding is going to be, or is already being cut significantly for not only them, but organizations like them. So I would recommend that we support them, in this way if we can. Just for that, but I also am on that board of directors, so I'm a little bit of inside knowledge, I guess, as to what funding looks like in the future for us.
What amount of money are they requesting?
We typically do 250.
From a standpoint as a nonprofit, I think marketing would be a good use of that because they're not gonna get that in a grant generally.
And that's, yeah,
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
So where I mentioned that since we have like money, usually t-shirts, yes, t-shirts, we had like t-shirts the last time. Just like individual stuff we can spend the money on instead of like trying to pay the great amount.
Like I said, they have to have the items here by the end of the year though.
But we can do it within the city, right? Keep the money in the city.
right.
And then it'll be used for just going to general budget, not for us.
No, I'm talking of the printing of the t-shirts. It will be printed within the city. And
We don't print in the city.
I'm not understanding.
Like print local, like use local vendors.
Do we use local vendors?
I'm asking.
I think we might have last time.
For the banner.
Yeah, we use local vendors for stuff. Sorry, I didn't follow the conversation.
No, I'm just thinking of how we can spend the money before.
If there's things that we need, yeah, but just spend at the end of the year. It's not our practice as a city. We're not, I've been working with rural government, with local government, we try to, if there's things that we need, yes, we want to buy those things, but if we get to the end of the year and we have money left over, it's not our practice to try to spend down accounts.
Like
Because
for the new people coming on though, I know there's 3 new people on. Is there like t-shirts that we have or do we need to order them? And then can we order them locally and get them here on time?
We do have some t-shirts in the cabinet. I'm not sure what sizes.
We wouldn't know necessarily what size until we have the first meeting with them anyway in January.
And the only problem is if we order now, we'd have to have this stuff in hand before December 31st. If we don't, then it goes into next year's budget.
A very difficult time to trust the man.
Yeah.
Or size large.
Or like,
We can put an order in as soon as we make contact with them after the commission meeting. See, but we would. They don't like us to make purchases at the very last week of the year or on the holidays because we won't get it back. We won't get what we ordered.
And we do have a larger budget next year as well.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to be hard to get anything like physical with our budget by the end of this year.
Then is it like a good practice with spend the same line? It's the same amount that was left over. A budget conscious. I don't know, something like that. Because just showing them they're budget conscious and
Right.
just overspending instead of like rushing to put them in.
I think having things that, specific things that you guys want to spend money on and donate to is it reflects very well on you. Where you might get questioned is stuff at this time of the year.
Yeah, can I make a motion to donate the 250 to Global Neighbors.
Okay, so we have a motion, donate the 250 to the Global Neighbors.
You had,
Okay, so we have a second. All in favor? Say aye.
I,
All opposed? Okay,
thank you.
so that $250 will be donated to Global Neighbors, and then I think we just going to have a balance remaining. I don't think it's bad. Was it Jason Grunick that set up the budget? Like they kind of, remember who that was last year? Last year, or the year before, Jason, I think, sat down with Whitney and actually kind of made a budget, like we'll have this much towards events, this much towards swag, things like that. So I think it's important that we continue that, but also maybe think a little bit further ahead when it comes to events and just plan a little bit.
Especially with plans for doing those honorariums and, yeah, community conversations, like what is an appropriate amount of.
Here's another thought, and it's fine if it goes back into general fund and stuff too. I mean, Sister Kathleen, I found an interesting document from 1941. Her dad said that even though citizens graced them with funding, it doesn't mean that a person has to spend it. I kind of found it interesting coming from him. But I know Sacred Pipe is thinking about being a lot more active and getting people to community conversations. I don't know if that's a way that be similar in kind or a little bit less. That's a consideration too, because I mean, they were here a couple of times. They were at a couple of your events. So food for thought, just throwing it in there.
My concern with that though, if people are just getting people to attend, is then again precedence, like if your organization recruited people to come to an event, like then what precedents are we setting?
You're not asking them.
I mean, if they come to you and say there's this certain event that we're looking for someone to partner with us. then
Oh, I apologize. I thought you meant give them in kind for getting people to the
Nope.
community
I'm
conference.
just saying that they're being involved and stuff, so
Yes.
I know they do a lot in the community that maybe there's consideration that way. If not, I wasn't saying it as an incentive.
No, I understand now. I apologize. I do know that we want to consider a partnered event with them next year also, just like some of the training that they offer. So, sorry, I have to write things, otherwise I will not remember.
That would be a good planning, right? Like planning an honorarium for, yeah, but that training
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if it would, I mean, that would be, again, this is adding to the workload potentially of us, but that might be a partnership that would be more than one training. Maybe, you know, if we're having 4 community conversations, we probably don't want to ask for quarterly, but even if we did 2 of them with them a year, I think that would be a conversation worth having, next meeting. Okay, anything else for upcoming events? On to committee updates. I'm gonna kind of jump around this ABC here quick. Ordinance update, I think we're good to go on that, right, Doug? Okay.
Public hearing, last commission meeting and everything passed, so. I have 7 members moving forward, starting at 25, and it just changed the commission or the mayor's responsibility. Selecting members.
I have subcommittee on here just so that I don't forget it. We want to hold that off until new members. And then the new position timelines, I just, again, put that on there so you guys can start thinking if you would be interested in chair or vice chair next year so that people don't just randomly get nominated that don't, or voted in that don't necessarily want to be in that position.
When does that happen, in January?
I'm assuming February. Or no, will the new members be here?
Should be here the first meeting.
Yeah.
It's the 27th.
Meeting.
Yeah, typically we hold elections in January at the first meeting.
And then humanitarian awards presentation is tomorrow. We do have confirmation, is that correct, Doug, that Micah and someone from Sanford will be there?
I don't have confirmation on anyone from Sanford.
Oh, no. I mean, me for sure, but there should be some other people.
There will be, okay, I called Brian today, but great,
Oh, yeah.
perfect.
I think he was gonna maybe try and come, but it's an Employee of the Year celebration tomorrow too.
I knew that you guys had a conflict, so. And have we heard from Micah, Whitney?
I have not, we reached out and with a letter saying that he was awarded, but we haven't heard anything.
It's in the basement, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't telling people to go there wrong. That makes
It will
sense.
be right away.
That's what I told them too. I know Brian.
Whitney, did you email him at a personal email or his work email? Micah,
We sent a letter by mail.
The committees.
and they're supposed to respond via email or?
I think it was just an invite. I don't know that it was necessarily that it asked for a response. I can look it up.
'Cause I have his work email, if you want to email him there, just to make sure he's coming.
One of you have his number.
I think just his work number within its email signature.
Is media usually there for
It's not on, but I'm sure he said that Keelan sent out a press release.
I feel like he said, somebody told me,
I'm
which
sure
would
he
be, I thought. I have just his work. Yeah, I have his work email and his work phone and a fax number, if that would help us anyway.
Yeah, I just have his email.
Should I send an email
Probably good for one of you all too.
Okay, I'll send them.
Try to
one.
contact.
Tia, I can send you a copy of the letter that we sent to him. If that's helpful.
Yes, and then I'll email him tonight, so. Keelan gave us talking points, so we'll have something. I will have something to say. I would welcome anyone else speaking if they wanted to. If not, I will.
You're looking at me for a reason.
Yes. But I'm good. I still would like other
I would
people.
do Mike as a.
Oh, we could do that. We could do,
Yeah.
okay, let's do that. Very good. Okay, anything else on those before I move on to the member application update?
Are they gonna do it exactly like last year where we went up, talked, and took pictures? Assuming- Okay,
Mayor will
and
introduce.
where's the awards?
Whitney, do we have the awards on hand?
Yep, have him at the meeting tomorrow.
Then I'll do Sanford and then we stop, we take the photos with Sanford, we do all that and then reset and do it all with Micah. All right, so we'll move on to the member application update, which if you look at your second sheet, Commissioner, do you have one?
Scott.
Okay. All right, so tomorrow it will be voted on, it looks like, the appointment of Joan
Joan Klein.
Marabella, and then Corinne Czar for committee, which they just have to vote on and confirm.
It'll be on consent agenda. There's a bunch of committees that are being voted on, so I won't see any. It probably won't be full unless a commissioner has a specific question about one of the committees or members.
Do we know anything about their background or do we?
Marabella is from Ukraine. She owns Little Odessa, what?
Right next to Ukraine, starts with an M,
Moldova, sorry.
Okay,
It's Little Odessa. And Joan Klein, part of Asian American Committee or
yes, I think her last name's spelled wrong here,
this.
I believe.
I think it's EIN.
I think it is. I could be wrong, but if that's the one I'm thinking of, yeah.
Whitney, could you look at Corinne Czar's information? I don't recall that one off the top of my head.
She's a nurse, I think. CHI, I think. Females.
I know, I was thinking that too.
So who are the remaining four?
That's for
Geraldine and Carl, this is their last meeting. We still have Doug and Commissioner Conley though, to balance us out. Actual say what we do. However, they will be here, they will be here to answer all of our questions.
She has been in the medical field for 28 years.
Any conversation follow up on that?
if you did want to see like a listing of all of the committees and listing, I made a post on my page. I have one there on the page.
Yeah, and I think too, it's on the agenda.
Yeah, you have to go through each
Yeah.
individual item where I listed all of the
Okay.
appointments on one post.
At least it's not my typos tonight, it's.
Does your plan committee start in 25 then too, with transportation? That's-
Yeah, that's on that post.
Okay.
It's all on it.
I-
So, I just figured for a one-stop shop for you all instead of trying to navigate 10 different items keeps much.
Sometimes I try doing it on my phone and I've given up on that because it just like keeps resetting me back to the beginning. It's like too much power for my phone.
We'll move on to community conversations. And if I'm remembering this incorrectly, please let me know. But we were given the okay for the subcommittee to kind of move forward and do its own thing with that, but we wanted to wait till the new members were on before we started planning the first quarter one, correct? Okay,
From what I remember.
that's okay.
What's the date?
No, because we wanted to wait, I thought.
So,
But now that makes me nervous waiting till the end of January to. Because we were planning March, right?
I want to throw something out there that might come into it, and I haven't talked to the mayor or other, but with the transportation committee, when the thought process to merge with something else that the library has going on or some other organization is that I've had people reach out and say they would like a community public input meeting to go along with how we look at transportation in the future. Maybe that lends into a community conversation that could match with the HRC.
transportation is a huge issue.
It is.
Huge.
I think if we stayed with our first one being the more of the focus on, guys, my brain, I'm sorry. Like the homeless, yes. Following the one we just had, I actually think then the next one, transportation, would make sense unless the community, like feedback forms say something
Yeah.
else. So I don't think that's a bad idea.
Also, something you should know as the whole conversation goes forward and things. Brad Brown, that's his resignation from West Central last week. It's January 10th. He's the
The regional director
CFO.
at West Central Human Services.
Going
He's
into
going
a
to-
legislative session, it's kind of a, I think, thing.
Yeah. I think he's becoming the clinical director at Good Road.
Yeah, that's what I heard today. Went to the peer support meeting. And
Yeah.
I actually think transportation conversation too, that would line up. Time-wise, I'd give you guys as a committee a little bit of time
Couple
to
of meetings to get to know each other and step into that.
kind of
space,
see
but-
where the conversation is going versus just trying to figure it out for us as well. That would be,
Well, then the goal is that, kind of a little backdrop, just short information. The lead for transit was 1.2 million, well, 1.5 going into it. They got a little bit more infusion from federal funds. So it was 1.2. The funding sources, if you combine both MPO entities from Med Ed and this be a little over 4. So it's enough to cover the spread, and it's more, how can we be fiscally responsible in turning it from from a service into an asset, without blowing through the funding source? So it's more about protecting the ride now than necessarily who provides it. It's the ones that are stepping up to the plate. Those are the ones we want to support. If that makes sense.
yeah, and I will, I'll email you for one of my papers I had to write for my classes. It was on public transportation. It was a really interesting city in California that partnered with Lyft. It's Go something, but I'll email you information because it might be just something they partnered with Lyft and Lion Bike. It was pretty interesting, but that's
I appreciate it.
separate.
Yeah, anything and everything. It's throw it against the wall and we'll see what sticks and see if it can be dynamically beneficial to our community.
I think it was Go on Read.
I just like the idea of, yeah, combining forces and cross-cutting a little bit and probably getting more people sort of attending. It'll just be interesting of how do we find that balance between experts and sharing lived experience, maybe from individuals that have faced adversity the lack of transportation, but then just having like, yeah, a public forum for people to have time and space.
Look at that for other, like, community conversations, like the homelessness houses list one, if we could look at this. Anyway, is it Missouri Valley?
Missouri Valley Call Homeschooling. Yeah.
They just had their meeting today.
I know a few people on it.
Yeah.
I do though, Katie, with that lived experience, especially with transportation, I think that's, like, I think it's a broader, audience than what people kind of assume that need
Yeah.
public transportation.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. We've got a while to, now that we'll have a new chair, I will make this recommendation. We get better timelines with our community conversation forums. I will take
There's no, okay,
full responsibility.
is there some type of policy or something set in stone? I'm just curious regarding being chair and vice chair that you only can do it for a certain amount of time.
With that, because of the appointees or like the new committee members not starting until January 27th, and just that timeline, does it make sense to start doing at least some broad planning and then maybe bring them in partway through?
I think so. At least,
Just so we don't like.
yeah, I think the committee we did, after the holidays, first couple weeks of January, maybe first or second week, at least get a date lined up. And get those reserved. I think we could probably plan date-wise the first two. Get those rooms reserved. And then we could start brainstorming some panelists, but I do think that our new members might offer a perspective that outside of our kind of go-to here, so maybe leave a little bit of that for them. What are your thoughts?
I think that makes sense. I figured if we just at least start the conversation, so there's something that for them to kind of like hop into, so we're not scrambling to figure out a date in January and giving ourselves like a month.
With city appointed committees like this, maybe we had it with our subcommittee, but can we, say Geraldine really wanted to stay on helping with community conversations, but she's no longer an official member of the committee. Can our subcommittee have non-committee members as part of it?
Or not something, can you repeat your question?
Okay, so let's say Geraldine really was interested in, even though she's not officially a part of it. Let's say Carl was really interested in remaining as part of the community conversation for, he's no longer an appointed member of our committee. Can he still participate on a
Volunteer
subcommittee?
and serve,
Mhm.
sure.
Sorry, you're reading. Sure, you asked a question.
He's new to this position. I would like to let him have it, but we've actually had, like when the water rate subcommittee was, that was 30 members throughout the community. So, yeah. It's,
So while he's looking for this, I just have a question regarding the transportation. So those members appointed or did they apply?
Mayor asked me to reach out to most of them,
Okay,
and then the mayor selected, and two of them on there, Don Kopp and Lane from United Way came from the mayor, I believe. If not, that might be the administrators. But I had conversations, and then some of them reached out to just as a broad schematic. It was suggested to keep it in a smaller group, like around 7, and we're already beyond that. So, but part of it is two of them are going to be non-voting. One Kim Ripple and Deidre, because it would be potentially one of the entities when there's potentially more.
It's not very clear about serving multiple terms as the chair. It just says the president shall serve for one term among its members and shall hold regular meetings. Say limitations on
Look at me like I'm asking this.
I'm just answering the question. I'm not.
With how committees and boards are set up, most of them are saying 3 consecutive terms. Because Dustin Gavrilo just turned out on this one, so.
How many terms was, as far as being the president or just on it?
It's just on chair general.
Oh,
How many have you only been the chair for one?
she's only been chair for one, or vice chair for one.
You typically get a vice chair in place, then it would just vice chair would move up to the chair. So it's.
Well, it's a good question, especially if we're now a committee of 7.
You're turning over.
Who's turning over, you know.
I think the reason we started doing the 1-year terms is because we had a lot of people getting burnt out as the chair. And it encourages people to maybe step up and take on more responsibility if other people step in as the chair instead of that one person continuing to do it year after year. So I know it was implemented maybe 3 years ago where we started doing, maybe it was more than that, but we started rotating them so that it kind of encouraged more members to take a more active role.
What was it prior to the 1 year? Was it the full 3 years or?
Nope, it was kind of as a volunteer thing. So-and-so could stay as the chair, or they, other people could volunteer to do it.
That might be something, we don't have to implement it, but that might be something for the future. Since elections are January and moving forward, all appointees they're all January as well, right? So it may not be even a bad idea to look at maybe going like 18 months. That way you're not a full 2-year commitment, but it allows a couple months for those new committee members to kind of see what's happening, what's going on, and maybe provide more opportunity for them to step up into the role with an expectation of or an idea of expectations.
Like kind of a more meaningful vote.
Yeah, I think
They're
so.
not gonna know what they're voting for.
Yeah, and not even, are they not gonna know, but they potentially could want to actually step into the role as well. They may not know that January. Are you, I don't know if I can ask that, are you planning on stepping into the chair or not stepping in, throwing your hat in the ring? Okay. So let's so I like this idea of 18 months instead of
I guess tricky.
Is the math
Math is not math.
or is it that you just change them if it's still 12 months? Well, but that also gets difficult with ending terms. You could try and move it to a different, a couple months back, but then if somebody is the president in their last year of their term, then that cuts off.
It could be new members have experience running a board too, so that might change it a little bit.
I think the intent was maybe to encourage current members to step into that chair role and then let the new members kind of see how it goes. I think that was more the intent behind it. Instead of having new members step up into that chair or vice chair position, is having current members who haven't been in that chair position take it and then go from there.
I jumped into place and I
don't know.
like my first.
I would never, for sure, the chair, I wouldn't. I'm pretty ambitious on things. But. Not at my first meeting, obviously.
That's my concern.
I don't think that's necessarily something we have to decide, but I think we'll have to. If you're gonna throw your name in the ring.
That's my concern is
Yeah.
I realistically, I can hold this position until probably May would have to be my last one. I've got a long military school, so my concern is if we don't have people stepping up, I know what I'm going to do. And it's probably not in my best interest or the best interest of the committee to have me a full second year, because I would step up and try to.
Mhm.
So. Yeah. Why did I write for your t-shirts? I was like, why did I write for large? Okay, so that's something for us to think about then. So what happens if, like, say, Katie nominates Gabby and Gabby says, I can't do it. Like, what if we don't have someone to step into the chair role? Other than us feeling guilty and letting people down? Like, what's,
We should have a president or a chair. So somebody should, in that role, how you run your meetings and how you function as a committee or a group doesn't have to be the same way that you're doing it right now, but we should have somebody that is the president running the meetings, setting the agenda. Maybe the dynamic of the group changes.
all right. Other business. Do we have anything else?
The podcast on here. I have listed. It's a podcast.
What in the world?
I thought people were tired of you, and our numbers are down.
Oh,
No, they're not.
selected.
They are down a little bit.
We're still 500. I mean, History Hunters find 500 listens a month.
600, I guess.
So
Okay, so podcast update.
tomorrow we have a new podcast out. Emily Honors from YouthWorks. After that is Kurt Schneider, Hartfield. Those are good. Episode 50 is Jason Demott from the city.
Yep.
Where else are we taping right now?
We've got Chris Mount
From
We use it all resource center. He's also super involved in the community. And then we have Chaplain Guion was supposed to be in January, but due to his schedule, we had to move it to February. And then we have Amy Holler in February, who's a professor and also involved in a couple of nonprofits. Yes, I think that's where we're at there. Anyone else? I have a question.
Yes.
So let's say we term, I don't think we term out for a while, right?
to,
We don't need an answer today, but what is the future of the podcast if it's still going and we're no longer committee members?
Yes.
Oh, cool. That's all I need to know. Okay. All right. Any other business?
It's not in the ordinance.
podcast.
What if we
not
did a live
ordinance.
taping of the podcast as a community conversation? Much, okay.
No, so no, live is terrifying. Also,
Taping. We're good at taping.
but also logistically, then you have to have microphones for the audience to hear, and then you also have to have microphones for every person recording. And I don't know if we're set up. Yeah.
Do like recap stuff.
I think that's something we could consider. We have to bring someone else in, so it's not just us two talking, but. But that is something that we wanted. I need to add that to look forward, but to consider for the next community conversation is how we can either transcribe it or I don't know how, if Dakota Media, I know Justin said they would be interested in somehow getting it out there. But again, logistically with microphones and all of that, so I can chat with him.
They were down with staff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Last call for other business. Going to adjourn at 6:10. Carl, Geraldine, thank you guys so much for your time tonight and on the committee.
It has been an honor and a privilege, and I will be back at some future point. My schedule is just not going to allow it because of my work stuff this next year, so.
Okay, well,
Thank you, guys.
keep messaging me random.
You do the same, you know, I'm always happy to answer questions, at least as long as I can either provide the answer or find the answer. And I don't know why it looks like I've got a severe sunburn, but that's just the lighting in the hotel, so.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks, guys.
It was fun.
Yes,
City.
I'll soon see ya.
I enjoyed that before. Come to my house.
Okay, so